Today's job's a little different. This pump came to me, was such a mess. Rust, corrosion, just about everything broke taking it apart. The springs, the links, the bail for the bowl. It was just a mess. So what I did is I dug up enough parts through our cores to make up one of these pumps. This fits 1949 only Cadillac. The body's, of course, the body is goes up for quite a few years. But what makes it unique is the vacuum casting, the fuel casting, and the arm. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you how to assemble it, and I'll touch on the disassembly as I'm going through it. So sit tight and we'll see if we can get to it. We're going to start with the vacuum casting. This is what it looks like. This is where your inlet and outlet valves go. And when you take it apart, there's a clamp and a screw right through the center. Once you remove that, you can take the valves out. The new valves, in the kit you'll get gaskets, these small round gaskets. And you'll notice in the holes on the in these ports, one's bigger than the other. There's a reason for that. It helps you in putting these together. This valve's going to go down through here because it won't fit the other way. And the other valve obviously goes down like that. Put the clamp on, put the screw in, and tighten it down. And we got a top cover here, which is this here. New gasket. Make sure it sits all the way down. You get a fiber washer that goes on this bolt through the center. Put it on and snug this bolt down. For some reason, at this time, I got the wrong bolt. I need a longer one. Let's switch it out. And you want to snug it down. You don't need any air leaks. This part's ready. Now we got the fuel section. The bowl, the bail. There's a gasket for here, filter, inlet and outlet valves. This uses 2 screws. Cadillac did an interesting thing. They're the only ones that did this. Normally, is just a, to hold the valves in, there's just a cage like this. A bracket that goes across that holds the valves in. What Cadillac decided was it wasn't enough. So we're going to put that bracket, plus we're going to use this and we're going to put that over the top, and then we're going to screw everything down. Did it help? I have no idea. I think it was just a waste. I usually don't replace these. I take them out. Just use the regular. It works for every other pump going. It'll work for this one too. So we got 2 gaskets. One for each hole. Now on the other one, these 2 holes were 2 different sizes. This one here, it's got that little stanchion, little piece of casting sticking up. So if you try to put this valve in with the rivet down, it'll hit it. So it obviously goes this way. The other valve goes down. Put the handy dandy little cage on there. Now the screws that that Cadillac used with that big bracket is this long. If I can set this down without dropping it. These are the screws. Now it doesn't have to go through all that casting, so it can be a little shorter. Not by much, but enough to make a difference. If you use the long screws, they're going to end up bottoming out before it gets to the clamp. Come on now. And snug them down. And hold steady hands. Get them down nice and tight. You don't need those valves to be loose. Put a gasket on. Put a filter on. These fit pretty tight. So I made a neat little tool to sit over the top and press them on. Just press it down. It's got to go down so that it hits those little pieces of casting right there. And that's it. We're going to stick the bail on there. We have to have some way of holding the glass bowl. Now a quick easy test to make sure that your valves are seated right. We have an inlet and an outlet. This is an inlet, and obviously this is the outlet. You want to be able to blow air in and not suck air out. Same thing with the other one. You should be able to suck air out but not blow it in. If that works, then the valves are sealed. And also this area in here is sealed, where the glass bowl hits the gasket. This piece is ready. Now on to the body. There's several parts to this, to the body half of this. You get two valves, a seal, another oil seal, the arm, the pin, spring, the links. And we're going to start with the arm. These are all the pieces that go to it. Now some of these things come in the kit, like this sleeve right here comes in it, and the spring, which is the arm return spring. It needs these two spacers. What we're going to do is, you also get this spring. We're going to put the spring in first. There's another part that you get, is a new pin. The best thing to do is to set the spring in there first. Line up that. Get the pin started, and you kind of have to collapse the spring and try to line up the hole for the pin to go through. One thing to do to make it just a tad easier is you get a punch to fit in the other side. Line it up, and it'll kind of hold it there while you're trying to get the pin to go through. Well, I won. Now there's two clips you're going to get with the kit too. One goes on each side of this pin. If you take the pin out, you'll probably get 3 of these in the kit, only because they're very easy to lose them. So if you lose them, only lose one. Just snaps over it. Very easy to do. This pump is going to give me trouble all the way. Okay. My next step is going to be to install these two valves, or this one valve. You have one gasket. Now the valves that go in the body both go in the same way. They both go down, rivet down. Tap it in. And for extra measure, we dimple the casting in a couple of spots. I'll show you where. One right here and one right here. Just give a couple of hits. Flip it over. Now you're going to get two seals. It's important to know which way these go. You can see that ring rib right there, and if you look at this retainer, it's got a place for that rib to go right around the outside edge, and it very easily fits right inside. I get pumps back once in a while. The customer's done it this way. Well, it'll leak. Put them in this way, set it down inside, and press it in. Just be careful you don't get the seal off to one side. Usually these retainers go in pretty easy, so you want to take a center punch and dimple the casting around the outside edge. You can see where it's already been done once. Obviously this has been rebuilt before. You can see the casting is all broken. But that casting being broken like that doesn't affect the way that the seal holds in. Get a little motor oil, put some right in the center so that seal doesn't run dry. Use your diaphragm assembly spring. The link inside is going to hook onto this. The best way to do this is before you put the seal in, you can go right around and you can see inside, and you can see what you're doing in there, and you can hook it on. Otherwise it's a pain in the neck to do. Okay, now we're going to mount this in the vise. Get ready to install the fuel section. Now hopefully when you pulled yours apart, before you took it apart, you scribed some kind of line so that you know how this goes back together. What I do is, that little mark right there, I'll mark it right there close to the arm, so I only have to do one side. Otherwise, what people can do is take a hacksaw and run it so that you mark both pieces of the casting. Take a picture of it, draw a picture, doesn't matter. Now, get two of the screws that go through the diaphragm, through the casting and through the diaphragm. This next part is another important part. Make it easy on yourself. Adjustable wrench, put it on the arm, take some pressure off it. Line up the screws. Now just get these caught. Don't tighten them down. I think I missed over here. Yep. Just run it about halfway down. Put all the rest of the screws in, run them halfway down, and don't tighten them up yet. Now comes the important part. Take the pressure off. You want to pull that arm up so that it's all the way down inside. what you're doing is preloading the diaphragm. Make it last longer, keep it from stretching, and it also takes care of an overpressure situation. Get 4 of the screws tightened down, then you can let the arm go. Just look around the outside and see if the diaphragm moves at all. Like here we got another one that, oh, there's just too much space in between the screws. Okay, tighten down the rest of the screws. After you get all these tightened down, make one more trip around just to make sure that you got them all and didn't miss any. And we do a quick half-ass test. Take the arm, plug up the inlet, hold your finger over the inlet and try to pull the arm up. You'll feel it suction. Pull the arm up, hold your finger over the outlet and let it go. If it goes real quick and you don't feel any pressure, then you got a problem somewhere. By doing that first test with this casting off, you've tested the valves in this area here. When you test it this way, you test in this area and where the diaphragm plates go together to make sure that it was put together correctly. Okay, now let's flip it over and we'll assemble the vacuum side. Now you're going to press in the seal for this side. Looks just like the one for the other side. And then you're going to dimple the casting in these 4 spots. And it helps hold this down. A lot of the oil leaks that people encounter are due to that seal not staying where it's supposed to be. Before you get that in there, if you look down inside, you can see the link that you're going to be hooking the pull rod for the vacuum side onto. That's going to go down inside of there and hook onto that. This side can be tricky. I shouldn't say that. It's pretty easy. You'll get it. Set the seal in, set the retainer in, and press it down. A lot of times I'll use this. Got a chisel that I ground the end flat. It's just enough to catch the edge, cave it in. That's all that needs. Again, put a little oil on the center just to keep that pull rod from running dry. Now this valve up front here, unlike the rest of them, does not use a seal, a gasket. It just pops in. Just make sure it's flat. If it isn't, take this tool that you use to install the other valves, give it a couple of taps. Sometimes the rivet is set a little higher and it hits the casting. So you just got to knock it down. Take your diaphragm assembly. And to make things a little easier, put your adjustable on the arm, push it all the way down. You'll feel it hit as it goes in. Then you want to tip it back and hook it onto it. Sometimes it's easier than others. Just like that. And to tell if you've got it hooked on there right, as long as you know you got both of those links together. Sometimes you'll catch just one. The way to tell is if you got them both is keep an eye on these two holes, and you should be able to turn it halfway both ways. Now you know you've got them. If you'd only got one, it's going to go even further. Once that's all lined up, the spring seat, the spring, the vacuum casting that you assembled before, stick 2 screws in, opposite sides, and just get them caught just like the other side. Look around the outside edge, make sure that that diaphragm hasn't gone inside and gotten caught inside the casting, which this one here is good. If it does, the way to get it unstuck is to use a popsicle stick or something thin and just get in it and hook it, and you'll knock it out. This side's good also. And a way to find out if it's still good, put your adjustable back on and look around the outside edge and see it's out all the way around. Now, unlike the fuel side, the vacuum side, the diaphragm has to be in the neutral position. If you push it all the way down, you'll see, watch this little tab. When the tab goes down, that means the diaphragm is up too far. With it all the way up and the spring pushing the diaphragm assembly down, it moves this up. You want to put it right in the middle. Yeah, I kind of got ahead of myself a little bit. Get those screws in, run them about halfway down, then set the height of the diaphragm. Once you're in the neutral position, run 2 of these screws, actually run 4 of them down tight. And then tighten on the rest of them. Just kind of go around one time after you're done, give an extra little tickle just to make sure. Now you're going to operate this arm, put your finger over the outlet and you'll feel pressure. While it's down, put your finger over the inlet, let it go, and you'll feel suction. That'll tell you got no leaks and it's ready to go. Now if you need a kit for it, what you do is, after you get the pump off of the engine, look around this outside edge and you'll see 4 numbers. Sometimes there's 6 or 7 numbers. On these particular Cadillac pumps, you'll see only 4, and they'll be stamped right on the edge. Give those numbers to the person who answers the phone, and they'll be able to look up a kit for you. Now where this thing mounts like that on top of the engine is the outlet, the inlet from the tank. And it's ready to go. Got any questions? Put them in the comment section. And you can send me an email. If you want to call the store, phone number 781-335-8860, and on the web, then-now.com. Thanks for watching. I hope you helped.